Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. It's Monday night. It's the best day of the week, right? Everybody loves Mondays. That's the joke. Uh, we've got an awesome show tonight. So we're gonna crush some old school liberty unity ideas and kind of give some backstory because people I think are are becoming aware of who we are now and they don't fully know how we got here and the progress that's been made. It's easy to be pessimistic if you're new, but we're going to talk about the progress there. Then on the second hour, we've got Bill Barger and Ben Richards of the New Hampshire Mises Caucus coming on to tell us about what they've been up to. So it's going to be a good time. How are you, Reed?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm halfway between Kingman and Phoenix, Arizona, just parked in the desert, so hopefully my service holds up.
All right. Well, yeah, that wouldn't be anything we haven't experienced on the show before. That would be impossible for it to be anything worse. Uh, we've technical difficulties are fun. I think that's what makes it feel like a real show, you know? It's like if Janet Jackson can have a wardrobe malfunction, we can have some technical difficulties, right?
That's right. It adds character, if nothing else. I think I got I don't know. I got several comments doing my last live stream with Dave Smith in the seat of my truck. That I think a lot of people appreciated that. So it adds depth that you wouldn't have otherwise. So.
Mm-hmm. For sure. So yeah, I think the for me the conversation that I had this past week that made me want to discuss the origin story of Liberty Unity was, somebody was expressing their concern and lack of faith, I should say, with the progress that we've made as a movement, and or just kind of expressing that they don't think that the party as a whole is like receptive to it, right? That we're making strides with some people and that some people are becoming better, but the party as a whole is still a clusterfuck. uh and for me, I know that we kind of talked about this, but I don't want to speak for you. But for me, when we started this, it was like a Hail Mary attempt. It was like a maybe this works, maybe it doesn't. If it doesn't, then y'all kids can play with your 1.5%, and I'm gonna like I feel like Liberty Unity kind of started out like in the Libertarian Party, but not really attached to the Libertarian Party in any permanence. And I was, were you kind of in that same mindset?
Yeah, I think one of the misnomers is that we hated Dave. Like we all hated Dave, and we just wanted to scream at him, and then he was nice to us, and then we just changed our minds. I don't think that's very accurate. I think you hated Dave at one time, obviously. Um, I never really hated him. I just didn't know him, and then Jeremy, maybe sort of. I mean, he didn't like him, but he didn't really know him. And
Mm-hmm.
then you and I were actually talking a couple, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 weeks before we ever actually even got in contact with Dave, and we did that video
Mm-hmm.
um, where the "end the stupid shit" hashtag came from. I mean,
Yes.
we we were
Twitter's
talking
least
about.
favorite of my videos.
Oh yeah. um, but it's that was when we first really started talking about it. I think that
Mm-hmm.
was in December. And we were even talking about Dave Smith at that point and Nick Sarwark and kind of everybody, and saying, hey, maybe we can get people to get along.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Oh man, we were
and
gonna try to go the whole show without saying his name. Whoops.
yeah, whatever. But
Cat's out of the
then
bag now.
then we then we launched it kind of in the beginning of January.
Mm-hmm.
And we were just, whoever was receptive to it was receptive to it. But I don't think it hasn't been successful. I think if you look at the people who have embraced it versus the people who haven't. I won't mention his name again. So the one who didn't, he's gone now. And a lot of the people who did embrace it, they're kind of prominent people like Dave Smith, Todd Hagopian, Brian Nichols is a fan of it.
Scott Horton,
Matt Kibbe. Like these aren't nobodies. Like these are a
yeah.
lot of.
Also, can't leave out Justin Amash from that conversation, or Spike Cohen. Neither of them have been necessarily in the conversation. You've had them, or you've had Spike on your show, but they haven't been quite as involved. But they're both still pretty loud supporters of the idea of liberty unity, and they're preaching the same stuff, just not necessarily with us, which is fine by me.
Right.
That was the other misnomer, is a lot of people thought we were like just trying to like. I've heard a lot of people say that like I was just trying to get to be friends with Dave Smith, and that was the funniest accusation I heard, because like that was the last thing I wanted. Like, I actually was kind of hoping that because so far the trash has taken itself out with a lot of these people, and I was honestly hoping Dave would be one of them. I thought he was going to snap and keep up his divisive bullshit, and we would all, like, as a group be like, okay, no, fuck you, Dave, you're an asshole, move on. And then I was proven wrong, and it was awesome. But to think that this was, like, a grift to try to, like, get popular. No?
Yeah, no, I mean, Dave, so we didn't reach out we did like reach out to everybody. Like I made a tweet that involved a lot of people. It was like Vermin Supreme, Tom Woods, Spike Cohen. I mean, it was like everybody, and everyone started responding to it. So we all jumped in, and we were trying to get everyone like to say, hey, we're all on the same team. And the only guy who messaged us was Dave Smith. Like, we didn't get a message from anybody else. Like, he directly contacted us. So to think that this was some scheme to be like, risen through the ranks somehow. I mean, that was all Dave's doing. That was not us. Like, we didn't plan that. So.
Right. And the other thing to note from that, because a lot of people accuse Dave of this being a grift, and so the exact same point needs to be made. Like, I fully thought that this was going to make Dave irrelevant, like the way that we're doing with Who Shall Not Be Named. Like, that was kind of the like, this was not something that Dave concocted to legitimize himself.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, he actually said that in his video he did about it. He said, this was not my idea, actually. These four guys came up with it, and then he named us. Dave has been like the most actively outreaching over it, but a lot of other people have retweeted a lot of our stuff. Like Larry Sharp has been in on it. As I said earlier, Matt Kibbe, Spike Cohen, it's obvious who wants it, and then those who don't want it don't want it. So okay, I mean, but Dave actually made a tweet today saying the best thing about Liberty Unity has been exposing who wants to grow the movement and who wants to unite and who doesn't, and that's totally true. Like there are people who avoid the Liberty Unity hashtag, because they want nothing to do with it, and it's not a right-wing unity thing. It's a liberty unity. Like we, I remember, what's his name? Nico House made a tweet about how much he liked Thomas Massey's style. And so I retweeted him saying liberty unity. I'm trying to bring it in from everywhere. I've retweeted Vermin Supreme when he says stuff doing it. And it's just about anyone who believes in liberty before right or left. That's really what it's about in my mind. It's about being against authoritarianism and coercion, and then your left and right kind of don't matter if you oppose those things. So,
right. And I had two really, really encouraging things happen this week. On the on the Liberty Unity front. So first thing was I had an interaction with Mike Shipley on Twitter.
Yep.
And for those watching who don't know the backstory, Mike Shipley is the person that started Bottom Unity, which was a fairly similar idea that kind of there's some backstory. Everyone has their opinions on the Bottom Unity movement. I saw it from a distance, and I will not comment on any of the inner workings of it because I don't know. But what I do know is that I saw a lot of people join the party because of it, and I was inspired by it. And so I tweeted out, we've talked about this tweet already because this is actually a pretty old tweet, but I tweeted out that left libertarians belong in the Libertarian Party. And he replied, and then in parentheses, as long as they keep their radical ideas in the back of the bus and let the, quote, pragmatic right-wing libertarian ideals drive the bus. And I was like, I don't believe that at all. Like, that's, nope. Like, unfortunately, there are a lot of people that do believe that, but that's not me. That's not what I meant. And I said, we're trying to even it out, or so. I don't remember exactly what I said. And then I said, you want to come back and help me fix it, with a winky face. And he kind of went off about that. He was like, fix your own mess. And I was like, I'm new. This isn't really my mess, but I am trying to fix it. And like, part of it, a good chunk of it's because of the message that you shared. And he ended up, like, the last tweet in the thread was him coming back and saying, it's nice to know that I inspired someone. That makes all the pain worth it. And I was like, holy fuck. Like, cause really, like, he was the inspiration for, like, honestly, the only reason I came up with the hashtag Liberty Unity instead of just pushing Bottom Unity through when you had that tweet was because I've heard from more than one person that they thought Bottom Unity was a sex thing, including myself. Yeah. I thought it was a sex thing. I wanted to get away from that. And like, you have to understand the political compass to understand what Bottom Unity means, where you know what liberty means. So like, that was the only reason for the name change. Other than that, I fucking love Mike Shipley and what he did. People can shit on me for that. I don't care.
So didn't you came up with the hashtag Liberty Unity, right? That was your deal, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I'm like 99% sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I like Liberty Unity more than Bottom Unity too, because you can be on the bottom but not be putting liberty first. Like, you can be on the bottom but definitely be putting your left or right wing agenda ahead of the fact that you believe in liberty. Like, Liberty Unity kind of drives home the idea, look, I believe in liberty before I believe in anything else. So whatever right or left leanings I have are sort of irrelevant. So I think it's a better hashtag in general. But
yeah, and like, so that's a lot of people tried to create a dichotomy between the two unity hashtags, and I'm like, this is the dumbest thing. Like, you're really gonna make a dichotomy out of two things that were bred out of killing dichotomies? Like, are you fucking serious right now? Like, this is what you guys are doing with your lives? So yeah, I was really encouraged to have that interaction. The other thing that happened this week that really got me fired up was, well, actually, kind of two separate things. I was in two different clubhouse rooms. One was a couple days ago where Ron Paul was using all of our fucking talking points and talking about how everyone needs to come together and put aside their differences and coalesce against the state. So hearing Ron Paul say my shit, that was awesome. Then on Saturday,
validating.
Right? Like, I was like, this is pretty much the best thing that I've ever heard. And then Saturday, Jess Mears and I hosted another clubhouse room where Justin Amash, Eric Brakey, Matt and Terry Kibbe, Jack Hunter, Zach Weisser-Berger, if I'm pronouncing that one right, if I'm remembering how that crazy long last name works, Hannah Cox, just a pretty stellar fucking cast. And I got to listen to all of them use all of those fucking talking points too, and chime in, and like I I made an audibly weird noise, and I'm really glad that I muted my microphone in time, because I said I like went ham, and I made a great point, and then I like muted my microphone, and Justin Amash was like so him and somebody else kind of started to talk at the same time, and the other person let him talk. He's like, yeah, I just want to echo that, and I was like, eek. He wants to echo what I said. I was just like fangirling. We were in that room for 3 hours. I was just 3 hours of straight like jumping up and down fangirling, like on the inside, and a little bit on in real life jumping up and down, because it was fucking awesome. So I think Liberty Unity, if you look at Twitter specifically, you could make an argument that Liberty Unity made it worse, because it really has looked worse on Twitter that it was in like November, I feel like. But in real life, the people that are actually doing shit and accomplishing shit are completely in line with what we're talking about.
Yeah. The only thing that was recently, it was when He Who Shall Not Be Named lost to Air. There were people who were not just like random Twitter people who, were saying things that were disturbing, like, step on the neck of your enemy and stab him in the back while you can, or whatever. Like, that type of stuff is, whoa, that's not cool. But I think overall you're right that Twitter is just a cesspool full of idiots who don't necessarily who have a platform because it's Twitter, and they had the no libertarian thing. And that's not reflective of I really, as you know, have been impressed with the Mises Caucus. I pretty much identify with them at this point. I'm a non-denominational libertarian, but if I were to join a caucus at this point, that's probably the one it would be. And it's because they're doing shit, and it's exciting to see. Like, I've never seen, at least in my lifetime, while I've been paying attention, I've never seen a movement like this that's getting the traction that they're bringing to it. I mean, as far as a libertarian movement goes. So I think you're right that, if you look beyond the stupid, the idiots on Twitter, then it's more encouraging. So.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And for the second hour tonight, we've got two guys again from the Mises Caucus up in New Hampshire that are going to be talking about what they're actually doing, and the fact that they're doing better shit than anybody else. And also, fun fact, it's a free speech media crossover 3 ways basically tonight, because we've got the Naturalist Capitalist Fight for Liberty show and Don't Quote Me on This, plus another dude. So it's going to be a good time.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I really, I know we've brought him up a lot, but like the idea of just like, we don't need to be talking about this kind of shit. Like anything like just move fucking on past it. Like I don't blame people for Saturday, right? The posts you're mentioning are terrible, and like, fucking get over yourself and grow the fuck up if you were one of those people posting that shit. But like, I do understand Saturday. Like, have a day where you're like, ding dong, the witch is dead. Like, okay, like, I don't really blame you that much. You know that I love him as a human, but like, I do not blame them for seeing that happen. Like, I know that they did the same thing when Mises made me lose to Noda in September. I know that they celebrated that night. They made a couple of us lose that night, and I know that they were celebrating that night. I know it for a fact. So like, fucking okay, have some fun. But at the end of the day, is this really what you want to spend your day about? Like, and in reality, I think the most important conversation we need to have about that election specifically is the fact that there was only one person on the ballot for your state treasurer election, and he didn't even really want to be on the ballot. He didn't make a nomination speech. He wasn't planning on running. Like, you had no nominees for state treasurer. Worry about that.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't mind the joking either. It's just there was some scary statements from people who have a bit of a position in the Libertarian Party that were just really disturbing. And if like I was the Mises Caucus has been the underdog, right? And so I've been defending them a lot. And so then when the table turns and I'm like trying to say, hey guys, cool it a little bit, some people were like, what are you doing? And it's like, well, if you want unity, once you're winning, we gotta still, it's like Dave Smith said in my video, when someone's got a gun over your head, you really care about peace. What matters is when you have the gun. And I've been convinced that the Mises Caucus takeover is not a bad thing. I think it's a good thing, but to convince other people, we've got to be really positive, and really kind of leave this like gross negativity behind. So I agree, like the joking and even the shirts. Like I don't care about the shirts. I thought it was funny. it was dumb, but it was funny. But
I'm with you.
The stabbing your enemy while he's on the ground and breaking his neck and like that type of stuff is just like
that is a clear violation of the non-aggression principle, people.
But I think it's gonna subside. I mean, that was obviously a big moment. So I don't know. I think it's fine. I don't think, but I just don't want any there are a lot of deep wounds that I don't even understand because I haven't even been in the Libertarian Party for that long. I've only been here for like 8 months or whatever at this point. And some people aren't willing to move on, and the antagonization from either side just doesn't help. So it's just like, let's just band together and do this. But I'm glad to see that. I think that is happening for the most part. Like I think we just see the magnification of the ugliness online because I don't even have time to because I'm a truck driver. I'm always working. I'm always all over the place. Like I don't even have time to go to the Utah State Libertarian meetings, because I'm on the road. And I'm sure if I were in those meetings, I'd be encouraged by what I see. So,
yeah. You're breaking up on me.
Someone who's only viewing it through online mediums. Can you hear me now?
Yep, you're back.
Okay. Go ahead.
Oh, shit. I took a hit while you were breaking up. So I want to kind of pivot away from what we're talking about here because I don't want to run the risk of it sounding like we're ganging up on our guests before they get here because we're definitely gonna. Yeah, I know. And that's the thing. That's the important part that I want to talk about like in the opening there, but we'll talk about it after midnight when during the second hour. So I definitely want to shift back to asking you mostly like what's your backup plan? What's your plan B if the Libertarian Party says no, unity is stupid. I like being a social club that fights with people like Archie Flowers all day. Where are you putting your energy?
I'm not sure I'll put it anywhere. If there were if the articles of unity or something like that took off and the Libertarian Party didn't, then I'd probably go with something like that, but only if it obviously took off. Like this is the only thing I'm interested in putting ground up effort into, like, because I mean, I still kind of look at us as on the ground, like we're not we're not much of anything. So trying to help other people who really want to build it up is great. But I don't want to. If this doesn't go anywhere, I don't want to start over with the Articles of Unity. They'd have to actually, it would have to be that this fails and they obviously take off, and then I would jump on board, one of those deals. But this is the only organic ground up uprising I'm interested in. So
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. I think, unfortunately, if we're talking realistically, getting to the level of the Libertarian Party is not a very high bar for another third party to meet. Right? At the moment, we are the biggest and the best, and we have been since our founding. But for some like movement, especially with a concept similar to Articles of Unity, where we're running an independent candidate that's just like sworn off from party politics completely. It's not even a minor party at all. So I think that like a movement like that could build and do better, and really to beat out the LP. It's not a tough competition. And I might actually support them in 24 if they do, or like if a movement like that exists in 24 or 28, I might support it over the LP if the LP isn't behind it.
Yeah, I mean, the Libertarian parties, what Eric Brakey says this, and he's really right, that the party is just like whoever's in it. I mean, the party is just like an empty vehicle. It's whoever's in the vehicle. So if there aren't enough people in the vehicle that agree with me on important issues, then yeah, if they go somewhere else, I'd go there. I don't really care that it's the Libertarian Party. I mean, I do agree with I have become a pretty radicalized, like, anarchist libertarian. So I do agree with them on like everything. So that's cool. I don't think most people have a party that they agree with like literally everything on. So that's kind of nice. But I don't know. It's
That's a fucking unicorn. A political party that you agree with on 100% is a unicorn. It's like a woman that likes all of the same music and sports teams as you and drinks all of the same alcohol. It's just, it doesn't exist. And you don't even want it because that's boring.
Right.
Like, so it's a perfect analogy because that sounds boring as fuck. Like the fact that the person I'm talking to right now has like a whole separate like music library. It's awesome. Like I love that. So I wouldn't want it any other way.
Yeah. It's annoying because we agree on so much, but we fight over the tiny differences we have so much. That's what's annoying about being in the Libertarian Party.
Again, kind of like a married couple.
The Democrats and Republicans can disagree. Yeah, I mean, you can be a Republican and disagree with another Republican on like 60% of the issues, but you guys still get along and vote for the same person. And you'll be a Libertarian and you agree on 97 or 98% of the issues. And, the voluntary cannibalism just doesn't fly, so you can't support.
I knew you were going to say that. So. I fucking knew you were going to say that because of our phone call earlier. I fucking knew you weren't going to let that opportunity slide. No. Voluntary cannibalism, guys. Is it okay? Actually, let's save that conversation for the second hour too. Let's
yeah,
I'm curious because I'm sure that Bill is gonna have a really solid argument for voluntary cannibalism.
Oh, by the way, I don't really have an opinion on that either. I've never really entertained it very much.
So I honestly, the conversation that I find a lot more important is like euthanasia or assisted suicide. That's something I actually do have a very strong opinion on.
Let's hear it.
Well, I mean, I think as far as libertarianism goes, it's complete freedom over your own body, right? And so if that's what you're aiming for and you're telling people that they can't end their own existence, that doesn't sound like you're free. Like, are you really free if you can't kill yourself legally? Like, how is that an illegal thing to do? I don't like if you've completely deemed that life isn't worth it, and you've gotten help, and they're like, all right, dude, like all right, uh fucking go for it. Like I've done it, especially if we're talking about the elderly population, because I've done a lot of work with them, especially in like middle school and high school. I used to deliver Meals on Wheels to a retirement home, and I've worked with elderly people for like the majority of my young adult life, and I've just witnessed way too many people at like living the worst life I could possibly fucking imagine, just being forced to be kept alive by for some unknown reason, like completely suicidal. Like there was specifically this one woman. She outlived both of her parents, all of her siblings, and all of her children, and would literally try to lock us out of her apartment. She wouldn't let us in because she didn't want the food, because if we left the food, then her nurse would make her eat it and then she'd stay alive, and she wanted to starve herself to death. And I'm like, let this woman go. Like, why are we forcing this horrible existence on people? Like if it's their time, fucking let them go. And I think that people should be free to make their own decision there. I'd really love for us to have a good like mental health programs like throughout the country where if it's not really your time, there's somebody to talk you out of it. But I think if we allow legal assisted suicide, it'll give you that avenue where if we make it like mandatory that you have to, at least see a counselor first or something like that, it's better than these people that are just reaching the brink and jumping off of a bridge, because we'll have that barrier for a much better way to go out, that people are going to be much more inclined to take.
Yeah. I smirked there, and that was really bad timing, but that was actually just because John Molnar is watching, and he said he's had to drink 3 times because we've said he who shall not be named.
Mm-hmm.
John,
whoops. Drink again, John.
I know you're upset. Yeah, I mean, John, I know that you're upset that they're banning pornography in Utah, and that this is just like the second best thing you can watch, but it is what it is. So. But yeah, no, I agree with you on that, on euthanasia. I kind of also think that about just like suicide in general. I mean, the only reason I believe suicide is illegal is so that the police can intervene to stop you from killing yourself, right? Isn't that the only reason that's actually illegal?
Basically.
So, I don't know. I mean, assisted suicide, yeah, I mean, I think if you're aware of what you're doing and you want to go, why extend the struggle? I don't really get it. So.
Right. And I want to preface this as someone who is like a big fan of like the sanctity of life and human existence, and I'm a like universalist that believes that like all life is beautiful and all people are created like I'm a fucking hippie. So this is coming from that point of view. Like I believe that all life is beautiful for a duration, right? Like there is a point where like the universe is done experiencing itself through you, and your time is over and you need to go to where whatever happens afterwards. I don't even fucking know, but like your time here is done. Yeah, I don't understand and especially the fact that it is actually a criminal offense. Yeah, that's the thing that really bothers me. That like you can go to jail for trying to kill yourself. It's like, oh, your life was terrible. Let's make it 1,000,000 fucking times worse. And let's make sure that you can never fucking recover from all of the terrible shit that you're experiencing right now. Like your life will never be good again. but you still can't kill yourself.
If you think about that, that's like the most dystopian statist thing ever, that it's illegal to kill yourself. Like, just think about that concept for a second. And if you get caught trying to kill yourself to rid yourself of this statist world, you get thrown in a cage. It's
just to prove that it's not too statist for you to live in.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, I think Liberty Unity needs to have an official platform that includes voluntary cannibalism and assisted suicide. Because that's really what we need to be messaging on right now.
What about voluntary suicide via cannibalism?
See, that's actually like one of the areas where the two conversations really cross over, is because if we're talking about like making sure that the health standards are being met, there isn't really a healthier way to do it than via assisted suicide. Jesus.
But what
Christ.
about via cannibal?
Okay, so Liberty Unity started off really strong, and I think that we've really been building on that, and like we've mentioned earlier, we've changed the way that a lot of people are operating in the party, right? We have really like curved Dave Smith's messaging. I don't want to let me rephrase that. Dave Smith has curved his messaging, partly in thanks to what we've said, and a lot of other people are talking about the same stuff. We've got Karen Ann Harlos and Spike Cohen and Larry Sharp, who you mentioned earlier. We've got Justin Amash and even Eric fucking Brakey and Ron Paul are all talking about the same things, about coming together and coalescing and putting our differences aside. Magnus said it best. Actually, I was gonna download that video so that I could play it during this live stream because it's so fucking beautiful. But I didn't do that. So I'm just going to make him redo it when I have him on the show next week.
There you go. I mean, as far as Dave Smith goes, he credits us. Like, I literally shared a video clip the other day. Like you said, I give a lot of credit to Reed, David, and Jeremy for helping me realize this and helping me, so that's not us making that up. Like, that's
right. Yeah. I just realized how cocky what I said sounded. And I'm like, I'm gonna walk that back a little bit. But honestly, yeah, it's not necessarily unbased cockiness, because he does kind of give us that credit. So fuck it.
Yeah. But I mean, I think obviously the credit goes to him for actually doing it, and actually realizing it. And, I think a lot of it was just misconceptions on all sides. I think a lot of people who were doing their thing were not being negative; they were just perceived that way, and it's just because of the overall tone. And all it took was a lightening of the tone, and then people are starting to see, oh, hey, everyone's doing their thing. They're trying to grow the party. They're trying to advance liberty in their own way, whatever, and I think just the change in tone and the idea of approaching a scenario humbly and trying to understand what's going on, that's really what the biggest change has to be. And I think that's what everyone who's kind of accepted Liberty Unity has done, is they've said, okay, I might have had something wrong. I'm going to take a second look at this, and I'm going to try to be more open-minded. And that's, that's what Dave did. That's what we did. That's what I've seen a lot of people doing. So it's really just like the humility and the open-mindedness. I think that's really what Liberty Unity's strength is, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. And I want to mention something specific about Magnus's video that I said to you earlier on the phone. I like the fact that he named the dichotomy between Dave Smith and Breonna Coyle, because Breonna Coyle, I think, is at a similar camp. She hasn't embraced liberty unity the way that Dave Smith has, but she is like misunderstood and in some ways misguided, in my opinion. But she is pure and in heart, and I think that when you look at screenshots like what you tweeted out earlier and what you sent to me about the transgender woman that was brought into the party through Dave Smith, when you really start realizing that this notion that Dave Smith is just an entryist for alt-right neo-Nazis, like when you realize that that's bullshit, you wake up a little bit. And she's 20 years old and she hasn't come to that realization yet, and I have a lot of faith that it's going to happen. She's resisting it hardcore, and I really actually like respect her in a lot of ways for how much she's sticking to her guns on this, and a lot of it's based on personal experience. And again, she's young, like we're young, but she's younger. So I like the fact that Magnus said her and backed her up specifically in comparison to Dave, rather than some of these other jackasses out here who are just in existence to oppose Dave Smith. Because she's in existence to promote left libertarianism and preach libertarian ideals to the youth. That's what she's doing, and she sees Dave Smith as an obstacle to that, and we know that he's not. But she doesn't exist to oppose him, right? And that's what we've been talking about the last couple of days, is like, do you just exist to oppose someone, or do you exist to promote liberty?
Yeah, and it comes back to what Carrie Wedler said on my show about how Ron Paul loved liberty more than he hated the government, or loved freedom more than he hated the government. Yeah, what are you selling? What are you campaigning? So if you have an actual message, you've really got something, I think. I don't know if Brianna watches your videos. I don't have anything against her personally, just the attacks she's levied against me that came out of nowhere. So there's nothing about her as a person that I have anything against. What does piss me off is the bad faith attacks from anybody. And she's definitely guilty of those. Archie's definitely guilty of those. And then some people on the other side are guilty of those toward, pragmatic people. And I mean, just like cut it out with the bad faith attacks. Like if you, if you have a misunderstanding or you have beef with someone, like, sure, call it out. But the straw men and it's just like, it's so dumb. Like, cut it out. I mean, we saw that today. That was going on big time. It was just like, oh my God, just stop. But
yeah, I got involved in a thread a couple days ago backing up Brianna really heavily for the first time in a while, admittedly, and that's, I think, why she started to be a little bit more critical of me, because we were backing up Mises Caucus more often because I felt, and I think you felt, that they were in the right a little bit more often. But the other day, her and Todd Hagopian actually were championing together a very controversial point that teenagers should be allowed to get the vaccine without a parent's consent if they have a doctor's consent. Like if they have the ability to do it, they have the doctors saying it's okay, that they should be able to go ahead and do it whether or not their parent wants them to. However you feel about vaccines, that's a moot point. Whatever, we can have that discussion. The reason I got involved was because there was a whole thread of almost exclusively Mises Caucus people who had taken one of her tweets in this thread about teenage consent and construed it and started like there was a dozen and a half tweets or replies to it, all making the assumption, or just being like, oh, what other things does she think teens should be able to consent to? Or like, oh, that sounds like something that some pedo might think. And really not even being shy about what they were trying to say, but like straight up accusing her of supporting pedophilia because she thinks that teenagers should be able to get a vaccine. Like that is some fucking bullshit. And if you took a part in that, like, fuck you, seriously. Like,
yeah, no, that I mean, that's what I mean. It goes both ways, and it's just dumb. Like, and I know it's Twitter, but a lot of these, so there are a lot of like people who don't have anything to do with anything who are on Twitter just to spout their bullshit. But a lot of these people like actually have positions in state parties and things, and they're doing this to each other, and it's just dumb. It's like, guys, come on, just stop. Like,
yeah.
You know,
So I think my favorite
the
Mises
bad
Caucus
faith
habit.
attacks of like,
Sorry, there's some lag going on. But yeah, I agree. The bad faith attacks need to fucking stop. But I think my favorite tactic of the Mises Caucus and of the habit of theirs is going after Archie about his state party website. Like anytime he gets involved in a thread, there's always like 5 or 6 comments of like, update your party website. Because Archie Flowers is a state fucking chair, like, and his party website hasn't been updated since like 2018. Like, go do some shit.
Yeah.
Grow the fuck up. Yeah, people need to grow up, and I'm really excited about the adults in the party, right? Like the Amashes, the Matt Kibbeys, the Dave Smiths, the Todd Hagopian, the Hughes, the Jeremy Todds, the Kevin Hobbies, especially, because fucking shout out Kevin Hobby for being the most like shining beacon of liberty unity alongside Rex Longhorn that we could ever have fucking asked for.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to these guys coming on in a few minutes because they're from my original home state. So, if the Mises Caucus can take over New Hampshire, you know, maybe we can get some lower property taxes and some better drug laws and, you know, some improvements in those areas because I think the Mises Caucus is really able to reach, at least, so this has been my experience. Like ever since I've started having Mises Caucus people on my show, the reach has been way bigger. And when I share them with my friends, like my non-political friends, just like my family and people who are, you know, interested but aren't very involved, they get excited. Like they're like, whoa, I really like what's going on here. I like what these guys have to say. So if they can take over New Hampshire, that'd be pretty sweet. It sounds like they kind of sort of started doing that the other day. So I'm all for that.
Yeah, it's gonna, like, I have very little faith in the Free State Project. However, I would love to see. I have a lot more faith in the New Hampshire State Libertarian Party specifically, and then also a little bit extra faith in the Mises Caucus up there. We'll see.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, New Hampshire should be like it should be a pretty easy state, you'd think. I mean, we've just got too many Massachusetts idiots moving in. You know, I guess I can't say me anymore because I'm a Utah resident now, but I still, you know, I was a New Hampshire resident for 25 years or 26 years. So still feels home, but
Yeah, I think you'll always be attached to your home state. I'm still gonna be a New Yorker forever.
mm-hmm.
Although I would love to not be a New Yorker anymore, because
King Cuomo,
fuck place. Yeah,
or just in general.
just in general. I mean, I love New York City, but like New York is not liberty, really. Like, and it's rough here. I feel like there's a lot more hope in states like Arizona or Colorado or even New Hampshire or Maine. Michigan specifically. I would love to be in Michigan next year working for Justin Amash for Congress, if that's a thing. Please, Justin, if you ever watch this, run for Congress or run for governor next year, please.
Yeah. I mean, I think, aren't you guys the least free state? That's what Larry Sharp told me. California is 49. You guys are 50.
Somehow we beat California. I don't know how we beat California in least free. We kick California's ass in most corrupt, though. And that is, there's no competition. There's no competition on that one.
Yeah.
California has flip-flopped more than New York has. So it's had more opportunity to right some of the wrongs with like Republican governors. We've had some Republican governors, but they were all really Democrats with an R next to their name.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's gross. New York is gross.
Yeah, the only like sort of blue state I've ever lived in. Well, I don't know. I guess New Hampshire's sort of blue now, but the only
Purple.
Yeah, the only blue state I've ever lived in was Colorado. I've lived in Arizona, Utah, and New Hampshire. So, and then Colorado, obviously, but that's the only liberal place. So,
Colorado, depending on where you were, isn't even all that liberal.
No, it's just like Denver is. So,
is that where you were?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, where I grew up really isn't that liberal, but it's still in New York, so it's fucking bleh. All right, guys, thanks for watching thus far. This has been a great conversation. I'm super stoked for second hour with Bill and Ben. I'm going to say those names wrong at least once. I swear to God. There's like absolutely no chance that it doesn't happen. So I'm just going to apologize in advance. But I think we got at least one or two of them, one or both of them in the green room. So we're going to take a little bit of a break. We'll be right back with second hour. If you like what you're hearing so far, don't be shy. Give us a couple bucks over here at the Fight for Liberty show. Cash App at Fight for Liberty. We will be right back with the rest of the show.
I think it says so much that the concern about anarchism is that it could devolve back into something like government, right? Like, oh no, we can't have freedom because we might end up with the system we have now.
We have been waiting for the Hail Mary pitch of the national media just deciding to give us a bunch of attention and let us on the debate stage, and then we get to catapult to the White House. It's not going to happen.
And we say things like, what all Americans want is freedom. That's not true. We made that up. That's absolutely not true.
We need to agree on this one thing, and we need to go in there and hand these politicians their asses and say, you're done, we're in, and we're dismantling this money system, and we're going to bring the government back to the American people. And then once we give it back to the American people, guess what? The American people are going to decide what kind of society they want to live in.
Because the left started World War I, World War II, the Korean War, and Vietnam. Those are all started by Democrats. Vietnam is only because they didn't want to go, because there was a draft.
You're Luke Skywalker, man. Tell me something important. Teach me something that matters that I don't know, or show me you're leading somebody else. And especially, I'm sorry, but we're the empire killing the sand people here and shit. Like, this is so obvious, Luke.
They tried to get people canceled back then. They got some people canceled, but it was mostly politicians. It was mostly people in power. And when you play a power game, when you decide you're going to be a Machiavellian, I mean, you're expect to get your throat slit at some point, metaphorically. And so no, this is completely different. This is going after regular people.
As long as people look at other people as people, and we can remember and think about our humanity and our individualism, then I think that people are inherently good. And I think it takes outside forces to otherize people.
Like, why are we here? Why are we here? Because we care about these real issues, because these are real human beings who are suffering, whose lives are being ruined. Let's try to come together and brush some of this stuff off and deal with these really important issues. Because all this other stuff is like symptoms. It's symptoms of the central problem. And unless you solve the central problem, then we'll be fighting over Mr. Potato Head forever.
Oh, yes. Welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't already subscribe to The Naturalist Capitalist, go do so. That is just a short little bit of some of the awesome conversations that he has had on his show. Reed, come back up here. So we've got two awesome guests. I've been excited all day to talk to. We have Bill and Ben from the New Hampshire Mises Caucus here to talk a little bit about what they've been up to over the last couple of months. And I just want to give guys. We talked about this a little bit earlier, but I want to set the groundwork here. This came because this conversation started because there was a little bit of a misunderstanding on Twitter about he who shall not be named. And basically that was the point of the original tweet, was that he shall not be named. And so we're going to talk about all of the amazing fucking things that the Mises Caucus has been up to in New Hampshire, rather than talk about some jackass who lost a position to air. So Ben, Bill, thanks for coming on.
Thank you, David. Great to be with you. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah.
It's great to be here. And I listened to not the whole first hour. I was doing a couple other things, but you guys said a lot of nice things about us, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, I definitely I said one thing with a proverbial you in there that I was like, it almost sounded like it could have been taken as still against you, in the same way that Reed's original tweet was kind of misunderstood. And I was like, all right, we need to go away from this, because I don't want to talk about it without these guys here, and for it to sound like we're ganging up on you guys before you show up. But yeah, I definitely any criticism of the Mises Caucus on Twitter is meant for the Mises Caucus on Twitter, and not the people that are doing the real shit, because you guys are the bread and butter of the Libertarian Party, the people that are actually building the movement.
We also happen to be on Twitter.
I mean,
not the people being jackasses.
Right.
I'll be a bit of a jackass on Twitter, I won't lie. But
you are.
So my handle is literally Bill is a joke.
Right.
I'm not to be taken too seriously. I wanted to say though, I do appreciate you having the conversation, because I didn't know it was going to come from that. I didn't really, when I saw the initial tweet, which was, I don't know exactly the wording. It was I challenged the Mises Caucus to prove you don't exist, and I'm sorry, I'm not going to do the he who must not be named thing. It's way too many syllables.
I know,
but just prove to me you don't exist simply to oppose Nick Sarwark. And it's I just, when I see a challenge like that, we are the Piss and Vinegar Caucus, I accept. So I'm I'll tell you right now, I got a whole pitch for you on why. And to credit Ben specifically, who's been the organizer of the key organizer, as far as I can tell, JD Olitsky and Eric Sawyer, also great guys, but have brought more people in the Libertarian Party in person than anyone I know. And I wanted to talk. It's there's things that happen on Twitter that will make a national splash.
Mm-hmm.
And then the people in the room are what percentage of what's going on Twitter. So then you say, when this thing happens in the world and you're out in Utah and you're I challenge the Mises Caucus to prove this thing. And it's well, I mean, I got a whole spiel for you, which is essentially that what happened in New Hampshire with Nick was coincidence. We don't exist simply to oppose Nick Sarwark. In fact, quite the opposite. He seems to exist solely to oppose us.
In a lot of ways.
And had he not been in the room, and not run for treasurer, the convention would have been a huge win for us regardless, and a huge win for liberty.
Mm-hmm.
I think that people outside of New Hampshire should know that he was not being friendly to the Mises Caucus or to other libertarians in the room. He tried to block Justin O'Donnell, who you guys probably know and like.
Yeah,
he's a good dude.
Great dude.
For making a motion to stand up for the people who were in Keene who were arrested by the feds. Nick Sarwark thought the party should not have a statement on that. So I don't know if he did that to oppose the Mises Caucus or because he doesn't think people should be allowed to engage in free and fair exchange. I will oppose that if it's in the room with me. I don't care who it comes from.
Yeah.
So, I think that's a pretty reasonable take. I also think that beyond that, you can't get 30 people to register and sign up for a convention in 2 months and volunteer for official positions within the party just to thwart Nick Sarwark. And we have a group chat that goes 24/7 discussing philosophy and strategy and organizing. And Sarwark has been easily far less than 1% of the conversation and would have been an order of magnitude less than that had he not been in the state that we were working in.
Yeah,
so
I honestly, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but the point you just made is really vital because I think it's happenstance that he's in New Hampshire because it really doesn't seem like any of you guys from that state are like this. It's people from the rest of the country who don't interact with him really at all on a human level. That like even Dave isn't from New Hampshire. Like his interactions with Nick are more online than have ever been in person. So like it's a completely different scenario for the Twitterverse. And
the Mises Caucus, just by being there, was able to double the size of the New Hampshire delegation this year. We had a record turnout. There's never been a New Hampshire State Libertarian Convention with that many people. This is thanks to Ben Richards, who's here on this call. So you guys, you want proof that we're not just about opposing Nick Sarwark. Well, here's proof. I'm on the show to bring it to you. And again, I get fired up. I get very fired up. Like,
I know.
But we have, beyond Ben, there's a couple other organizers who've been reaching out to people across the state, organizing meetups. We had probably 75 people show up to just meetups just to see what we're about. Active Mises Caucus members, non-active Mises Caucus members. We have people building websites, people who read hundreds of pages of bills already, who were not involved in the Libertarian Party until the Mises Caucus brought them in. I joined the Libertarian Party because of the Mises Caucus. I just took a position on the communications committee because of the Mises Caucus. I could go on for ages, but as a Mises guy, I took it personally when you say, hey, prove to me that you exist for something else. Because the amount of work and time and energy that the people around me are putting in on a daily basis. And I think the Mises Caucus has done enough by now for the party to spread the ideology and bring people in that they should be judged by the boots on the ground and not the trolls on Twitter. And that's my case for you, all right? I think that the Mises Caucus of the Libertarian Party has done enough that you should judge them by what they're doing in states and not by what's on Twitter, because Twitter is a cesspool. And I just got on there, so I'm really bad at it. But like I'm learning it's a cesspool, and you got to be very careful. And I got clumsy thumbs, so that's my shtick. I've ranted for 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'll let Reed speak to his own, especially because I won't be able to talk for a second.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that it was. I just think it was a miscommunication. I wasn't specifically calling out the New Hampshire Mises Caucus. I was just talking to Mises Caucus people on Twitter who were saying some pretty vile things.
I definitely saw some vile things.
What's that?
I definitely did see that, and I don't think people should say that kind of stuff to each other. I mean,
yeah. So
there's some good trolls too, but
yeah, there was some hilarious shit. I don't like Nick Sarwark at all, and I was glad to see him go. And there was some funny stuff. There were some really violent things being said. So that's all the tweet was. think that the only point of that tweet was that let's just forget about Nick Sarwark instead of turning him into a martyr or giving him more credence than he deserves. So that's all it meant, and I think we're good. So
all right, we're good. To your point, I just want to make the case, and I maybe disagree. I'm sorry, but I don't believe that saying to a caucus of the party, if I said to the Prags, I challenge you to prove you're not just about being milk or lukewarm libertarians, that doesn't sound like a unity message to me. And I know you guys are about unity, and I don't feel united when I see that. And maybe that's because I'm full of piss and vinegar. But to me, I see what you're saying, but throwing a challenge out there like a reductionist challenge out there is the thing. And I think ultimately, I don't want to talk too much about Nick Sarwark, but most of that was incidental. And like you tweeting about him in association with the Mises Caucus is just strengthening that bond. I don't think that's saying, you could have easily left him out if you want to say, hey, you stop talking about him. Why'd you name him and tag the Mises Caucus? I don't know, man. I see your point, and Ben's probably a lot more diplomatic than me, so I'm going to shut the fuck up now. But
well, I do want to just make one point, because like if someone were to make a tweet that said, I challenge the Pragmatist Caucus to prove that they don't oppose, or they don't exist just to oppose Dave Smith, I feel like that would be a legitimate tweet to send, because a lot of times some people in the Pragmatist Caucus give off that vibe. And like me as an organizer in the caucus, I wouldn't necessarily, like, I would probably have a similar response to what you did, and I would be like, I would answer that challenge literally. And which is why I'm kind of glad you did, because this conversation, we've got another 45 minutes of the show to talk about, like, basically the actual answer to that question. And like, I really want to hear from Ben how you guys fucking doubled the size of the party, because we need to know how to do that in the rest of the states.
Well, yeah, and I want to say that, first of all, I'm not on Twitter, so I can.
Good choice.
Yeah, I don't feel too bad about it, especially with stuff like this going on. But so what gets seen on social media as the single, the headline of the day, in the context of our convention and everything that's been going on here in New Hampshire, really was completely incidental. We had no idea that Nick was going to run for treasurer. As far as I know, no one did. We had heard.
I don't even think Nick did, right?
He may not have. We had heard that his wife Valerie was going to run for treasurer, and we had talked about it some, and we had decided we weren't going to oppose Valerie. And actually, it was Justin O'Donnell who stood up and nominated Valerie, and she stood up and said, "I decline, but I nominate my husband Nick." And so, I think it's this. It may be the same in every state party, but in our bylaws, NOTA is required to be an option for every single vote. So no matter what it is, libertarians always have to have an option to say, no, I don't want any of this. Mm-hmm. So,
New York is the same.
We had a chat with everyone who was at the convention to help us organize and so forth. And so I said, we're going to vote NOTA here, but that's the reason for the chat and for everything I'm doing is, I'm not giving anybody orders. We're just trying to work together. And I'm pretty sure if I would have said, hey guys, let's just support Nick this time, I think NOTA would have won 22-33 instead of 21-34. I think everyone would have just smiled and ignored me. So it really was completely organic that we just don't appreciate how he treats people. And another good example of how this is working out is that I don't know if you guys are familiar with Karlin Borisenko. She's in New Hampshire. She has a big following. She has over 80,000 Twitter followers. She has over 110,000 subscribers on her YouTube channel. And after Saturday, Nick told her to go back to her alt-right echo chamber. And on the other hand, Eric Sawyer and I are going to be getting together with her on Saturday night to talk. And I don't know how much we have in common. I think she's been a big Trump supporter and we're not big Trump supporters, but we want to get together and talk to her. And I think we'll have a great conversation and, get to know each other, learn what she's about, and maybe we'll find an ally or someone that would like to get involved. And, even if not, we'll have made a new friend. So I feel like that's what we're doing. And I do think it's different than, what some of the opposition is doing. And the other thing is, if I knew there was a caucus, for instance, if I knew there was a caucus that was only dedicated to opposing Dave Smith, I wouldn't worry about them at all, because I just would think, if that's all they want to do, then they're not going to achieve anything, because you can't rate. The Mises Caucus nationally now is over $150,000 a year organization in recurring donations. Like Bill said, we just about doubled the size of the convention attendance over last year. And it's almost exclusively with new Mises Caucus people. On Saturday and Sunday, we had 5 people join as lifetime members of the party who weren't even at the convention last year. So, people aren't going to put up that kind of money and make that kind of a commitment unless they're actually excited about seeing something get done. And I didn't have a chance to look at the committees, but there's a lot of sign-up sheets for different committees, communications and membership and things like that. And I think probably Mises Caucus people sign up for 80% of those positions. And already, our people are talking about, they want to start up the county affiliates and get those reactivated, because as far as we can tell, most of the county affiliates are basically inactive now. So they want to start getting those started up. We have a strategy for supporting local candidates for legislative races. We already had helped introduce the Defend the Guard bill into the New Hampshire legislature a couple of months ago. So we have, a lot of stuff going on that it doesn't make it onto Twitter, but is what's actually happening behind the scenes on the ground. So,
yeah. And that's really a big, key piece of why I have the show that I have with Fight for Liberty, is to try to promote people. And unfortunately, I don't know New Hampshire that well, and so I've never met you, Ben, which is a shame. I'd actually the first time I talked to Bill, I asked him who else was up there, because I noticed that you guys had a Twitter account that kind of popped up out of nowhere, and I was like, is there actually a Mises Caucus up there? I didn't know anybody up there that was Mises. All the New Hampshire people that I know are like Nick and Justin and like Richard Manzo, and they're all either radical or pragmatist or nothing. I didn't know anyone that was Mises up there, so I just really realized that you guys were driving force in the party probably like 2 months ago, I think, was when that conversation was.
I mean, two months ago, we were not a driving force in the party. I mean, I kind of just realized recently that there was a Mises Caucus in New Hampshire, because last year I showed up at the convention. I had just in the last month or two been asked to be the state organizer, and I'd emailed the list and didn't get a single response. And it was only about a little over a dozen people on the list. So I showed up to last year's convention, which was in January a year ago, and that was a presidential election year. So we had debates and presidential candidates and so forth. And there were only 4 other people with the Mises Caucus that I met there that day. And really, everything that's happened in New Hampshire has happened in this calendar year, like 2021. We had a meetup in January, actually. So our very first public meetup was December 6th, and we had the 3 organizers, and then 3 other people showed up, and we had a nice time, but it was 6 of us, and it was between the holidays. But then after the Capitol thing was when we just started having a flood of new members, both nationally and in our state group. And so we had another meetup on January 30th of this year. And that's when we had like 40 people and almost, couldn't handle the crowd in the room. And almost none of us had ever met each other before. And I left like at 12:30 a.m. and Bill was still there with half a dozen other people, and we had the best time. And all night long, people were coming up to me saying, we have to do this again as soon as possible. So it's just super exciting. There's so much energy. Everyone's so excited and eager to work together. And, like Bill said, I was chatting with Bill a little bit earlier tonight. He was telling me about the logistics of this. And just since then, we've had like 100 messages in our little chat. So it's super exciting. There's so much energy, and it's just been a lot of fun.
That's awesome. I love to see growth in the party, because I know New York has kind of ebbed and flowed, and so we had a great time in 2018 with Larry Sharp, and then it's kind of been the last couple of years. So it's nice to see other states really doing some stuff. I've been really paying attention to Arizona also. They're doing some really amazing things with the LP out there. But Arizona and New Hampshire are pretty much like the top two on my watch list right now.
Yeah, and the other thing about, that there's a couple of things that make New Hampshire a little bit unique. One is that there are 49 states where Nick Sarwark isn't. So, just by that, I think you mentioned earlier, but just by that fact alone, that's something that, we have to deal with. And, when I went to the convention last year, at that time, was in New Hampshire. I walked into the room as the Mises Caucus organizer and saw Nick Sarwark, and I was like, oh, okay, he's in New Hampshire now. So as far as I knew, he was still in Arizona. But also, we have a ton of really active liberty activities going on here. For instance, the Free State Project is here. So we have, a ton of people who are here with that. And a few of them are in the Libertarian Party, but most of them aren't. And we've got, Young Americans for Liberty. I think one, I can't even remember, but we have the
52.
Yeah, something like that. The Republican Party in the New Hampshire legislature is a majority, and the Young American for Liberty, or the Freedom Caucus here, is the majority of the majority. So, we have a lot of natural allies in this state, and it's another one of the reasons why we think there are more ways to leverage the party to be more effective than what has been going on previously. So,
I do think that it would be awesome, because there's such a natural energy. And Ben, this is a point you made earlier, and I'm going to credit you with it. There's such a natural energy from the Mises Caucus, and Dave Smith has kind of been a part of a figurehead of this. It would be great if you would tell people to go out, and maybe you guys can pitch them on this. Go out and contact your local organizers. I don't think he realizes enough about the back end of the party. They're like, hey, contact your local organizers and get just, even if it's just to go to a meetup, because they are happening. And if you want to get them to happen, you can message this guy. Like, there's a guy you can message. I don't think that he knows that he can put that out there to all of his followers. This in the cultural battle, which I think is key. I think that's part of why the Mises Caucus is doing well, because it's a different game they're playing. They're really not too obsessed with the political side of things.
Yeah. Well, we're really at a huge advantage right now, because the sheeple are at home. We rule the world right now.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I think didn't you? I think you made that point when you came on the show.
I didn't say people. I just said the people who believe that the world is safe, the people who believe in freedom, are out in the world being free. You know, and the people who believe that the government should lock you in your home are staying home. As much as they can, at least. Or they're hypocrites, and they actually think they should be kind of free. It's like those people. They're more ripe for the picking, the ones that are out there right now in the actual real world, than the ones who are at home on Twitter. And that goes for trolls and non-trolls. That's just.
Yeah, at our last meetup, which was at the end of February, there had just been a big dust up in the state Facebook group about mask wearing at the convention. And it was a huge fight, but there were a lot of people that were saying everyone was going to have to wear masks and all this. And so, when I said a brief word to everybody that came to the meetup, and I said, after seeing what's been happening in our state group, I think we can confidently say we are the last normal people on the planet, because, everyone just came out to get together and have a great time, as if everything was normal. And even other libertarians, it seems, are just going to hide in their bedrooms until the government tells them that it's fine to come out now and take their masks off. So I think we have a big advantage there. And I think we also have an opportunity. I think there are a lot of people in the Republican parties and in the Democratic parties who are going to be looking at their parties and saying, how is it possible that no one is speaking up against this? And that's one of the reasons I feel like the Libertarian Party has mostly wasted a huge opportunity to take a strong stand. It's not like we have a lot of credibility to lose, because no one's paying attention to the Libertarian Party anyway. So why not, be the one organization that's just great on the lockdowns and completely uncompromising?
Yeah, honestly, that's a point that I make a lot in meetings, because I'm on a couple of campaigns and on a whole bunch of caucus, and state committee, and I'm all over the place. But I've made the point quite often that we don't have much credibility to lose. We were discussing today whether or not we should one of my candidates should go on a controversial talk show in the next couple of days. And I'm like, she's already been on this talk show before. Why are we even having this conversation? Because now she's a candidate and she needs to behave better. It's like, she's literally not doing anything else. Like, what is wrong with,
I just feel like anybody you can reach with a message that the state is screwing us over, they're robbing from us, they're dropping bombs on little brown kids in Africa, or not in Africa, but in the Middle East, northern Africa if they can. They'll get in there. And they're saying that they're going to give us free healthcare and all sorts of things. And what do? They line their friends' pockets and they kill people. And they deliver tanks to local police departments and tell you can't defend yourself. I mean, it's ridiculous. Nobody is pitching that message. Nobody is saying that the Constitution has been shredded in the last 20 years, one amendment at a time.
Did you by any chance catch the video from Magnus Panvidia that he posted? I think it was Saturday night. I'm not sure if you follow him on Twitter.
Was this Magnus's case for voluntary cannibalism?
No, it was Magnus's case for liberty unity, basically.
Okay. I didn't catch it. I'm actually not familiar. I caught the first half of the show, so I thought I'd get the call back.
Yeah, we definitely should touch on that in a little bit, because I'm curious your guys' thoughts. But he made a really powerful video of just stop punching sideways and down, punch up. I think it coupled well with a quote from Karen Ann's episode with Dave. She was like, "Save it for the state."
I do like that line.
No.
Yeah.
Dude.
Mr. Coverdale, are you with us again? Does not seem to be so.
It's rough.
That was another thing I wanted to mention that doesn't come out on Twitter, is that we have a very good relationship with a number of the, old-time activists in the party, like Justin O'Donnell and AJ Olding, and the new chair, Gilletta Jarvis. We supported Gilletta in her bid for chair. She's not Mises Caucus. AJ, we supported for secretary. He's not Mises Caucus. We've really appreciated Justin, and these people have been very welcoming to us, and we're eager to get to work with them. We know that they work hard, they love liberty. They're not Mises Caucus, but we don't even need them to be Mises Caucus.
Yeah,
right. And I think that was one of the reasons that I joined the Pragmatist Caucus, was because I heard from our executive director, Alex, he specifically told me that he doesn't have a problem with people being both, like, he didn't have a problem with me also being a part of the Mises Caucus and being a state coordinator for the Pragmatists. That wasn't an issue for him. And I don't have much interest being a New York State coordinator for the Mises Caucus, but especially because I might actually be resigning my position with the Prags because I don't know that I'm staying in the state for too much longer. But I had to ask him, because if he had said that no, you really have to be like loyal to the caucus, and like maybe you could be a radical or something else, but not Mises, like I probably wouldn't have taken the position. But he was very, very specific on the fact that, I'm to put party above caucus and, work with whoever I can to advance the causes of liberty. And I was like, okay, that's a group that I can work with. And I think Mises Caucus is doing a similar thing, just with a different focus and a slightly different brand. And I really wanted Sad Reed's having issues, because him and I were having a conversation earlier about the idea of a Justin Amash versus Dave Smith primary, and how just absolutely beautiful and healthy and good to message and good to watch that fucking primary would be, with how much respect they have for each other and how different their brands are. And like, Dave would make Justin be more aggressive and more charismatic, and Justin would make Dave like kind of stick to the issues and like probably not run off or like blow up. He would make him be a little bit more calmer to try to win over some of that middle ground to win. And regardless of who wins, in that race, I would definitely support Justin, and Reed said that he would definitely support Dave. But they would force each other to be better candidates, and it would be something that we could show everybody. While the other two parties are eating each other alive, we'd be running these two amazing, upstanding individuals who are respectful and running a race like that.
Maybe Dave could convince could convince Justin that Ross Ulbricht should not rot in prison. That would be nice. That'd be great for liberty.
Yeah, that would be a start.
Yeah.
Then maybe I could support Justin.
I think
he's a nice guy.
He doesn't know the whole story of that thing. I think that's the most charitable assumption on that.
That's very charitable, considering he sat in Congress.
That is pretty charitable. I'm not gonna lie. I would love to talk to him. Maybe next time I get in a clubhouse room with him, I will. I'll ask him specifically again about Ross.
Invite me on. I got a clubhouse.
Are you on Clubhouse? Oh man,
I have an invite. I haven't joined.
Oh, dude, join. I had the absolute greatest time on Saturday. I don't know if you were. I mentioned it a little bit in the first hour.
Yeah,
but yeah. So we had like all of the greats, like the people that I respect and love from the Liberty Movement, on just having a conversation. I accidentally talked shit to Justin Amash to his face, but that's okay.
If you got me in that room, I would be like, "Hey, Justin, I got a bone to pick with you." Like I guess that's my attitude. I'm like, "Hey, man, if you're gonna be a messenger for liberty, like let's pick the thing where you are clearly missing the target here. I don't know if it's your philosophy is not set right, like, or if do you really think this guy should be in a cage for allowing people to do voluntary transactions? I don't know. So I would love to see what he's actually made of when it comes to that. I mean, that's a pretty substantive issue. If he puts the law above morality, he doesn't get my support.
Right.
That's what it comes down to.
I completely agree with you. I think to Ben's point, there's a possibility that he only knows the state side of the story, because that's probably the side of the story that he heard. And they pinned actual real crimes on this guy. It wasn't just about the website in the trial. Like they pinned other crimes.
there was like allegations of child porn and stuff, right? I mean, it was like it was a really huge smear campaign from what I understood.
I think there were allegations of like hits put out and stuff like that. It was completely outrageous.
Yeah, there was a lot more than just the drugs, but also I think that there were allegations of actual like in real life drug trafficking that he was doing, which I think were also completely bogus. That I don't know. I honestly don't know enough of the story to really.
How about this? Even if those are the case, if we're libertarians, he shouldn't be in a cage. Drug trafficking. I mean, like what? So
I agree.
So I don't know what Justin Amash's thing is there.
I'm pretty sure that most people have never heard of Ross Ulbricht, and the ones who have only heard whatever the headline said. And so, it would be interesting to obviously Michael Malice didn't push back at all when he said that because, he's not trying to argue with his guests, but it would be interesting to sit down and talk to Justin about that and find out if he even knows any of the backstory. And my guess is he doesn't.
So,
which is a shame.
I have like an actual topic for the next Clubhouse room that we do. We're going to talk about Ross. We're going to talk about Edward. We're going to talk about Chelsea. We're going to talk about Julian. That's the next Clubhouse room.
Sign me up.
You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Get
me in a room with Justin Amash. Tell him I got a bone to pick with him.
Dude, I would love to get Matt Kibbe's perspective on this specific issue because I feel like he might be the best person to tell Justin that he's wrong.
Well, from Justin's perspective, I was thinking, I absolutely think Edward Snowden should be pardoned, but he violated the contract that he signed. From the state's perspective, he broke the law. He leaked information that was illegal for him to leak. Whereas Ross, as far as I know, was completely framed, and Julian Assange, isn't even an American. So, from the perspective of the state, I think there's more of a case against Edward Snowden than against either of those other two guys.
I disagree, and I will say because. Edward Snowden. What did he leak, and to whom, in service of whom?
Well, I'm not defending the state against Edward Snowden. I'm just saying, even from their perspective, I think that there's less of a case against Ross Ulbricht than there is against Edward Snowden. I'm not saying I totally support the pardon of Edward Snowden.
I disagree. I think if you claim to serve the people and you see what Edward Snowden did, it's clearly to serve the people. And so it's a very hard case to make but you have to hold people to, at first you have to hold them to, do you claim to serve the people? Because what Edward Snowden did was make the people informed. So you have to pivot. Here's, do you hold this value? And then here's what this is. Do you support a punishment for that? Because this is in service of the people. If you claim to serve the people, because I agree with you, but I just think if you're going to, it's a real way to judge somebody's character. So you're right. Probably
I think you're making a really good point there, and I think a word that Ben used that's important is contract. Like Edward Snowden was under contract, not under oath, right? Is that am I right in saying that? I think that's true. I'm 99% sure that that's true.
He was under contract to the U.S. government, who was under oath to us.
Which we know is bullshit, though. No,
it's not. Let's hold these people to it.
Let me finish my point. Let me finish my point. So, because I think you'll agree with you might agree with how I come around to this, because I think it's an important thing to talk about is whether or not these agencies serve us or serve the government, because in writing they serve the fucking government. They don't serve us. And we need to talk about that fucking shit, because that's the problem. That's the root of the problem. Is like the NSA, the CIA, the FBI. They serve the fucking government. They don't serve the people. The Defense Department. They serve to prop up the establishment and the corporatist fucking oligarchy that exists. They don't serve to us.
I see your point, but all of the government serves the government, and we have to hold these. If we're going to make the public aware, this is not going to change how that person feels about. I'm
not making a defense.
We have to hold these people to what they say, so that everybody can see what a bunch of hypocrites they are. So in my case, I will
agreeing
do
with
this to
you.
Justin Amash if it comes down to it. If
Right.
it comes down to it, I'll say, Justin Amash, if you believe this thing and you can't stand by it, you're a hypocrite. And I think you should think about that. And maybe I shouldn't pitch it that way. I'm not the most diplomatic guy, but I have to show. I will highlight.
Really, I
the
couldn't
contradiction.
tell.
I mean, I'm gonna highlight the contradiction. I can't help it. And I don't care what your reputation is. It's like, come on, dude, have a principle. If I have to go to reducto ad absurdum on your ass, I'll fucking do it. Let's go.
Yeah. So I wanna clarify that I'm in agreement with you, and I just think that what you're saying brings up an important conversation of like, who do these people actually fucking serve? Because let's be fucking real, it's not us. We could ask him that question. I feel like he would be in a complete fucking agreement with us that they don't fucking serve us, and we need to fix that shit. Like, that's the problem. Like, liberty doesn't win until we fix the fact that government is corrupt from the core.
Yeah, do you think that he believes that?
Do I think that he believes that government is corrupt at its core?
Yeah, because he said liberty doesn't win until we believe that government is corrupt at its core. Do you think Justin Amash believes that?
I think that he.
And do you?
I don't know if he would use. I don't know if he would use those words. I can't speak for him, but I mean, he's definitely been saying a lot of stuff about how fucking useless Congress is and how fucking pointless Washington is and how like absolutely bullshit the whole thing is. So yeah, I mean, again, I won't speak for him, but he's definitely had a similar fucking messaging, and that's one of the reasons why I'm really stoked about what he's been doing since he joined the party. Is he's new. Like let's be real, like he's pretty new to the party. He was a Republican for a long time. Like he's a pretty new libertarian, like big L. When I joined the party and left calling myself a Republican, all I believed in was guns and drugs and sex work decriminalization. Those were the ones that were important to me for whatever reason, because I just thought that those on a fundamental level were stupid because it had to do with your own body. I was still completely fine with like closed borders or not closed borders, but like strong border security. I hated Truman for not wanting to bomb China in the Korean War. Like, I had awful opinions. I voted for Chuck Schumer along with Gary Johnson in 2016. Like, so I was still pretty fucked up when I first came into the party. So I think part of me is like giving him like a year or two. And, he's not going to be running for president until at least like mid 23. And I have faith that by then he'll have changed his opinion on quite a few things. He'll have talked to enough Scott Hortons and Dave Smiths to really understand like what's what about our ideology a little bit better. And to be honest, he's pretty honest about that stuff too. He says, I'm a new libertarian. I don't want to speak for he says that he doesn't want to speak for the party and that he doesn't like fully know all the ins and outs of the party yet, or even the platform, and he's still learning. He's pretty vocal about that. So I give him a little bit of extra respect, but I'm in complete agreement with you. He needs to change his opinion on Ross, or otherwise I will not support him for president.
Well, is anybody suggesting any reading he could do? Because he's not in Congress now. So
time.
Personally, the biggest sign to me that, he would be really worth considering is if he's willing to look into our philosophy and maybe start reading some of the important works in the field of libertarian philosophy.
Yeah, that's one thing I'll give credit to Tulsi Gabbard for, which I know we might have differing opinions on her, but she's read the Libertarian Party platform front to back. I know that for a fact. She knows.
I actually like Tulsi better than I like Justin.
That's fucking hilarious.
She doesn't pretend to be a libertarian.
There's plenty of ooh.
I shouldn't say that. This is a unity show.
No, honestly, I'm kind of like I feel what you're saying there, because I do have a lot of respect for her independentness and her like she's pretty honest about being politically homeless, and I like that about her.
Well, and I just go ahead, Ben. I
was just gonna say I did too until I gave $1 to Tulsi Gabbard in her primary campaign. I don't think I'd ever given any money to any politician ever.
You know how many times
gave
I've
her
heard
20.
that?
But
I gave her
after
20.
she endorsed Biden, I was just like, all right, this is probably
I
not
almost forgot that about her.
salvageable.
So, as someone that worked on her campaign, that did hurt a little bit. But the thing is, we all knew that it was going to happen. What the timing of it did annoy me because Bernie was still in the race, and so she didn't have to yet. Like it wasn't over yet.
She didn't have to ever. Ron
She
Paul
was
never
actually like.
endorsed-
Again, we whether we're talking about like an oath or a contract, like she actually did sign a contract that said that she would and support the eventual nominee. Like you need to run. So that's the same reason that Rand Paul supported Trump in 2016. And I fucking hate it. I fucking hate it with you, but I knew it going in.
I hate politics.
I hate politics too, but I
We
knew
need
it
to stop
going
fighting
in.
that battle.
Okay, I just want to highlight a comment here. I'm not sure who this person is. You guys might know him because he seems to be from New Hampshire, but
Is it Seth Hall?
he's Mr. Dirt Floor Garage says, I thought if you watch Firefly, you automatically turn into a libertarian. And that is an absolute fucking fact. If anyone has ever seen the amazing show that is Firefly, it's pretty impossible to not be a libertarian after that because you just want to hate the government and everything that it stands for.
My brother showed me that, and he's a commie.
Seriously?
Well, I mean,
That's so depressing.
It's all right.
Is he like an anarcho-communist or like at least like a slightly libertarian style commie?
I don't know. I think he believes the state should enforce the proper law. That's fine.
Meh.
I got a lot of siblings. There's no way we're gonna all agree.
Actually, just to go back real quick, if I could, to Tulsi and Justin, just
Yes.
one last thought.
As
One of
many
the things
thoughts.
I really like about both of them is that when you see them, to me at least, it's obvious that it's actually a human being there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know what it is, but man, when you see these people like Kamala Harris and Joe Biden and any of the establishment politicians talking, you're like, is that even a human being? Is there a mind at all behind that face? And with, I went to one thing that, because Tulsi did a lot of campaigning here in New Hampshire, and I went to one thing with her and I met her, and it's obvious, even if we don't agree on hardly anything, but she is a real person, and there's a mind behind the face. So, and I feel the same way about Justin Amash, even if we disagree about things, but at least there's hope if he's actually a human being.
Yeah. I actually meant to ask you, were you by any chance at the meeting that Lincoln Chafee spoke at Murphy's?
Yes, I was.
Okay. So
I'm sorry. I wasn't. I was at the first meeting I went to was Vermin Supreme. I missed. So Lincoln Chafee was the one before, and I missed him. I think he spoke. He was at the New Hampshire convention, I think.
Yes, I think that. Yeah,
I
think it was like December. It was either November or December when I got up there. When I was working for Tulsi, I got to meet him. I was just curious if we actually had met each other because I was there. I was at a couple of New Hampshire LP things, but I was pretty hit or miss.
I went to she gave like a town hall at the United Methodist Church in Nashua. That's the one I went to.
I actually was at that one as well. That was a great event.
Actually, I stayed around till the end and talked to her about the possibility of going on some of the big libertarian podcasts and pitched to her, like, I think you have a lot of crucial overlap. I mean, mainly obviously on the war issue. But I said, there's a ton of libertarians who, for them, that is the issue. And they're really interested in your pitch. And it never ended, as far as I know, never ended up working out. But she had been like, yeah, I'll go on any of the shows if they're interested in having me. So,
yeah, I think it's really important because so my least favorite thing that I ever hear from libertarians is like Tulsi Gabbard is good on one issue, or Tulsi Gabbard is great on war but terrible on economics, because neither of those sentences are true. She's actually, like, as far as the Democratic Party goes, she's one of the best on economics, even. And then there's all the other issues, which she's pretty fucking great on. Like, she's the only person that was talking about decriminalizing all drugs. She's talked about legalizing psychedelics. She's talked about decriminalizing sex work, auditing the Fed. She just goes down the fucking list of the libertarian platform and checks a bunch of boxes, and then has a couple of wonky social safety net like social policies that I disagree with. But even those are really like free market focused, and she calls herself a free market capitalist a bunch. And so I really like, she is 85% libertarian, and she doesn't call herself one yet. But I think it's important to note that, like, she's pretty fucking close, and I really, like, I don't think the only issue that I think she would actually have to change for me to fully support her in the Libertarian Party would be her stance on gun control. That one, I think, is a non-wavering issue. I think that we cannot support, like, mandatory buybacks, which let me walk that back. She doesn't support mandatory buybacks. We cannot support and really shall not be infringed, right? Like that's libertarianism. Like that is an important piece. So I think, like, you cannot support any, like, furthering of gun control, and you have to support walking it back at least somewhat. Maybe you're not recreational rocket launchers yet. I'll still welcome you into the party, but you can't be pro gun control. Other than that, she's a fucking libertarian in my mind. Reed, welcome back.
Hey, can you guys actually hear me? Or
yeah,
we can.
Reed.
All
Wonderful.
right, sorry, I think my phone just got overheated from live streaming, so it wasn't working. But I'm back. So
welcome back. So I know that you probably have a little bit to add on that, because you were the one bitching to her every fucking night about her gun control stance. So
I
have anything to add?
Yeah,
I know.
I wouldn't say 85%. I'd say like maybe 75%. She wasn't actually, like you said, libertarians say she was great on one issue. She really wasn't great on war. She was just way better than everyone else. I mean, she supported the war on terror, which is kind of a huge problem. But yeah, I think you're right. She was really good on a lot of social issues. She wanted to decriminalize all drugs, and yeah, I mean, I don't think I would like, I don't know. I would like her to become a libertarian, but I think she might become a Republican instead at this point. And
I hope to God you're wrong about that.
I know, but I think the Republicans would take her with just like 2 position changes. We would require 7 or 8 or something. And like the
that's
Republicans
my point,
don't
though.
care about
the I really like that. That to me is my point. Like, I don't think that we require 7 position changes. I think that I would require maybe 7 position changes before I would support her as our vice presidential nominee. But I would support, I would require literally 1 position change for her to change her to continue asking her repetitively to change her enrollment to libertarian and start being an active member of the party, because we've talked a bunch of times on the show. When I joined, I said it earlier, it was guns and drugs. That's it. She's obviously one of those is one of the issues where we disagree, but still, if you say war and drugs in the Fed, she's good on those issues. I agree. The war on terror is a problem, but we need to get her around Scott Horton. That's how we win this.
And that'll be really good. Listen, if we can get her somehow, it'll be really good for the culture, because there's people I know who are not libertarians who, if Tulsi Gabbard was like, I really like the Libertarian Party. Even if she didn't join up, they'd be like, it's like to get her on the podcast, to get her on the shows. This is again why I love Dave Smith for like the cultural messaging. And I love the Mises Caucus for that too, because it's like it's less about the political thing. And we now are basically, steering the New Hampshire LP, but we're working with a bunch of different people that are not Mises Caucus people.
Mm-hmm.
But the cultural steering thing of like, hey, can we get these people? Can we like have a broad outreach to these people? Can we have a broad outreach to say that the state is the biggest problem? And, we can be distracted by all sorts of woke issues. We can be distracted by all sorts of things and never address the real issues if we're not careful, because there's an active campaign going where people are trying to control your life. And if we don't join up in the Libertarian Party, I don't care what it is, at some point, if you don't join up to pass bills that roll back the state, we either have to all buy into the Free State Project, right, and do the agorist thing, or actively sign up to pass legislature or vote for legislature that diminishes the size of the state. That's why I'm a libertarian. Really, I'm an anarchist. But like the Libertarian Party is the people working to do it, and we have to get more people in, because otherwise, and it's like fighting for ballot access in 50 states. I do respect it, but I think like fighting for ballot access for 1% and spending most of that time fighting for ballot access and not getting 4% more or 9% is a losing battle.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree. And so I think what you're saying really has to couple with kind of what I said, and I don't want to hijack your point, but I'm going to anyway.
Take it.
I think if we want to do what you just said, we have to not gatekeep, and we have to be okay with people like Tulsi Gabbard joining the party.
I agree. I agree.
That's how we grow.
Yeah.
Right. So that's exactly. And actually, there's another really important piece of like a caveat that I like. I don't know if either or if any of you guys have read the Libertarian Socialist Caucus platform by any chance. Okay, I wouldn't necessarily expect any of you to, but what I really like is there's a part in it that talks about their support for Medicare for All and UBI, and they specifically say in there that it is not a libertarian position, but they support it as a caucus because they think it's better than what we have right now. And I think like if you put caveats like that into what you're talking about, if you're like a new libertarian or somewhere like outside where the a little bit outside of party principle or like party platform stuff, you can pretty easily say like, this is something that the Libertarian Party is split on, or something the Libertarian Party might disagree with me on. Like, I am still undecided on the death penalty personally. Like, the Libertarian Party stance is no death penalty. Like, that is their stance, and I will say that. And anybody that asks me that, I will say that. Me personally, I'm not sure. So I think if we caveat things like that, we avoid any miscommunication or people getting pissed that they're mis-selling liberty.
I feel like
libertarians.
The only caveat I would need is like an opt-out. It's like you can have your socialist society as long as there's an opt-out, as long as I don't have to be in your socialist society. Like that, because it's not libertarian if I'm forced to contribute to your group.
Mm-hmm.
So, you can have it. Go ahead.
Like with Joe Rogan, he's one of the biggest public proponents for UBI as far as I know. And I've thought before, dude, you can get anyone in the world on your, there's probably only 3 or 4 people living who would be like, nah, I'm not going on Rogan. Pitch UBI, he's friends with all these super rich and influential people. Set up UBI for a small community. You could do it for a town somewhere. Right. If you want UBI or, set it up yourselves, put in the money. Joe Rogan's not poor. He can start setting up a UBI program if he wants it.
Mm-hmm. But we need to get the culture to think in terms of voluntary transactions. The reason people don't kill each other is not because it's illegal. The reason you don't go around punching people in the face is not because it's the law. And the reason that people do kill each other is not because it's illegal. You know what I'm saying? Like the legality of something. If we made killing legal tomorrow, do you think murder would increase by 7,000%? I don't.
Maybe not 7,000, but I would make the argument that if we made murder legal, there would be a lot of people that would go do it.
Well,
let's take it back.
Not gonna lie.
Oh, go ahead.
The first law of economics is if the cost of something falls, more is going to be demanded.
This is true. This is true. So yeah, I think it's I would make the case for that.
That's a dark thought. That's a really, really concise and beautiful way to say something really dark.
Fite and Friends, the family-friendly libertarian podcast where we talk about the demand for murder and voluntary cannibalism. So Ben and Bill actually circle back to that. What is your stance on voluntary cannibalism? Is it okay in a libertarian society?
I feel like we should. I'm not going to go there.
I told Reed earlier I wanted to circle back because I knew Bill would have a great response to this that I wanted to hear. So don't hold back.
So listen, if I'm dead, I don't think I really have the same rights as regular people anymore. Is it really voluntary? Does it have to be that voluntary? It's like if you can make a couple of good sandwiches out of me and you're starving, I support it. Why do I have to opt into this? Do I have a right to my body after I'm not using it? And you could. Like, and I mean literally like this. I'm never going to use it again.
That couldn't have. Yeah. See, this is why I wanted to bring it back up because fucking priceless. Mr. Richards, do you have anything to add to this, or are you just gonna like plead the fifth?
I think I'm not even aware of this conversation until right now, so I think I'm going to plead the fifth on that one.
It's a victimless crime.
But I will say I do support a free market in internal organs. I think so. That's probably most of the way there, isn't it?
That pretty much is. All right. So guys, let the guys know and gals who are watching, let them know where they can find you, how they can help, and specifically let people know how they can get involved with the New Hampshire State Party and help grow liberty up there.
So I'll just say, not just specifically in New Hampshire, but anywhere you are, get in touch. If you have like a brand of libertarianism or whatever, if you think people deserve to be free, find the people who want to be free in your area, whether it's the Prague Caucus or the Mises Caucus. Find them, link up with them, talk to them, have real life interactions with these people. We don't get a free state or a free country or free communities if we don't have groups of people who actually want that. You know, if 99% of people support the state in a neighborhood and you're the one that doesn't, you're never going to be free. So go talk to those people. You can find me at Bill is a Joke on Twitter or Bill is a Joke on Facebook, or my podcast is Don't Quote Me on This on Free Speech Media Network on Facebook.
Free Speech Media, shout out for their great stuff. Mr. Richards.
Well, the Mises Caucus website is LP Mises Caucus. If you go there, you can join the email list, and that will send your information to the state organizer for the state you're in. If you're in New Hampshire, do the same thing. You can also find me on Facebook, and I can add you to our group. If you're not in New Hampshire, you should sign up with the Free State Project and move to New Hampshire, because this is where we're going to build the voluntary community. Come to PorkFest. We're going to have Dave Smith is going to be there. Tom Woods is going to be there. Scott Horton is going to be there. Pete Quinones is going to be there. Jacob Hornberg is going to be there. Angela McArdle is going to be there. I think just about everybody from the,
David Fite's going to be there.
Awesome.
Just kidding.
Awesome.
I should be, yeah.
We're going to have a big Mises lounge, and that's going to be a lot of fun. So definitely come to PorkFest if you possibly can. That's a huge event.
Is it .com or .org? LP Mises Caucus.
Sorry, it is .org. Yeah, it is .org.
Okay.
LPMisesCaucus.org. Actually, no, I think it is .com. It is .com.
Okay.
I've got the brochure here in front of me.
Okay. I just want to throw that one up there for people so they know how to spell it all.
But check out the Free State Project as well. That's another really cool organization up here, and they're definitely worth checking out.
I love the dual pronged approach. It's like agorism and the LP.
Right. Thank you. I think I made that point on Saturday. That's where I was kind of I backed up Eric Brakey in what turned into kind of a debate between him and Justin Amash, because what I said was that I think we can do both the Yao Republican Party thing and the LP Libertarian Party thing for the next couple of years and see which one's working better. And in 24, we decide where we put, like, you know, maybe not even in 24. 24 is where the LP proves itself. And if we do so, then Yao backs us up from there on out. And I'm okay with that.
Fair enough.
But yeah, dual-pronged approaches are a great thing. But thank you guys so much for watching. This has been fun. Thanks, guys, for coming on. I'm really glad that you guys were able to, really speak to some of the great work that's going on in the party.
Thanks, David. Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, seriously, thanks. Hope I didn't get too rowdy.
No, you're all good. I was properly prepared. We've talked enough times. All right. All right, guys. So if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, Fite and Friends. Also, go subscribe to Fite for Liberty. We're on here, Fite and Friends, every Monday night from 11 to 1 Eastern Standard Time. So come back and check us out next week. If you want to support the channel, Cash App us at Fite for Liberty. That would be great. I'd really love it. Liberty is not free, so help me out. There's no such thing as a free lunch, and I like lunch. So much appreciated, guys. Thanks again, guys, for coming on, and we'll catch you next time.